Saturday Shenanigans. This is just a fun one. John reached out. John got a new camera, so we're gonna test it out, see how it works. We got Aaron luckily was able to jump on, so I messaged Joe V that Aaron's gonna be here, so Joe hopefully pops in. But morning, fellas.
Good morning.
Hi, buddy.
Yeah. So, John, so what's with the new camera then? Why'd you get a new? What'd you get a new camera for?
Well, the phone was really not cutting it very well. So, being as I'm not used to doing all this kind of podcast stuff, I figured it's time to step up the game a little bit. I can certainly tell that I'm going to have to work on the area here a little bit better because the background is very very bright, and everything else is kind of dark. So I'll work on that. But the camera seems to be working well.
Oh yeah, that's good. So awesome. I mean, yeah, this is what my channel is also about, is trying to help other people get started, whatever they want to play around with, whether it's a camera, a microphone, work on their skills. But Aaron, as we all know, doesn't need any practice. He also has his own podcast, YouTube channel with first responders, financial freedom. And I know you're also working on something for Monday, right? But is that only for the group? What do you have coming out on Monday?
So there you go, sweet talking me again. Just get me to come back on the podcast. You can't baffle me with bullshit there, Mark. Yeah, I just came inside. This is a good excuse to come inside because I've been working on my excavator, busting my knuckles, working on the engine, and I just gave up to the point where I'm going to call people to come fix it for me. Yeah, so I mean, my day job is the fire department in DC. I've been there 21 years, been in the fire department 25 years. Did some arson investigation before, a lot of other stuff. I own a couple companies, and then now I'm doing the kind of like my passion project where I give back to the first responders, teaching how to do certain things from marketing to real estate investing, opening up businesses. Apparently, I can't teach somebody how to fix an excavator, though. Not today.
All right, so let's see. Let's say good morning to Flavio, tuning in from Grandview, Washington. We got Mikey Buzztune. Buzztune's also in Hawaii, so he's probably just waking up. Flavio noticed, he said John was a bull rider. I see his background.
In a previous life, I did do a little bit of amateur rodeo. Yes.
Dang, how long ago was that?
When I was in high school.
First wife, second wife?
Long before any wife.
Did it get you your first wife?
No, it did not. Matter of fact, the first wife was not into hunting, camping, fishing, any of that kind of stuff, and was more of a city girl.
I've got nothing. I got nothing for you. I can't do something like that. My wife's dad's Secret Service retired. So she's grew up with the hunting, fishing, shooting dad. And I was like, yes, this is right up my alley. I got very lucky my first shot. But I also didn't get married till I was almost 40. So I guess I skipped the first divorce.
All right, cool. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out. I'm also testing things out too. I'm trying to figure out how to follow my X live feed right now, but I can't seem to find it. Aaron, have you ever streamed on TikTok? From like, okay, yeah, because I can't
constantly get TikTok asking me to do it, and I don't. It says to promote your page and engage followers, start live stream, blah, and I don't.
I get rejected every time I try it. It says I'm not approved, so I don't know if I have to stream. I have to do lives on TikTok first.
You might have to have either do lives or have a certain amount of followers before you can post like a minute or 2 minutes or whatever. It's a pain in the butt, man. It's kind of like prove yourself first, and then we'll help you promote yourself.
All right, we got some people tuning in, probably from Aaron's channel. Says cheese curds, hello, and then Kevin says skipped divorce, lol. So I think that was in reference to you, John. But yeah, we can also talk. We're also all in real estate, trying to do that financial freedom thing. But Aaron, so I guess where are you at in your journey now? I know you talked how many years you're in the fire service, but so what is your end goal? I guess I know we joke about castles and whatnot, but what is your end goal for it? What do you see?
You joke about castles. I'm dead ass serious. So as we always have this conversation, the first time I drove cross country in Ireland was probably 15 years ago, and you could buy a livable castle for about $400,000-$500,000. Now it's not like that anymore, but you can still buy a castle for less than what a condo costs in DC. So yes, that's an attainable goal. I don't care what any of you guys say. I still send the castles to Mark, but like I don't really have an end goal. I'm to the point now. Like I always have between 8 and 12 properties at all times. Sometimes I'll 1031 them into something bigger, better, something more shiny. And other times I'm just flipping. So I've been doing it for about 20 years now. I've probably done about 100 deals in real estate for myself, and then people with other ones. There's really nothing out there that scares me because I've done ground up builds, developments. I just saw one of my deputy chiefs yesterday or 2 days ago, a couple days ago, who bought one of the houses in one of the developments we did, and he's doing great with it. He's probably got $200,000-$300,000 in equity at least by now. So yeah, I mean, it's just I don't have an end goal. Mine's just if it looks good and it makes sense, then I'll go after it. I would like to start loaning. I know the two guys on my podcast, Tyler and Mike, they're doing loaning right now. It's just more hands off, and I think it's better that way because it's less headache you have to deal with. But that being said, I just don't think that. My screen keeps kicking over to another screen. I just don't think that there should be an goal in real estate. It's just find out what you like the most and see what works for you, because tax liens might work for you, flipping might work for you, being a realtor might work for you.
Flavio is asking, which area are you, Aaron?
I've owned properties from the West Virginia, Maryland border out in Western Maryland through Virginia, DC, all through Maryland, over to Delaware and the shore.
All right. And then John, I know for this journey for you, like you always talk about on our lives and things like that, and your channel. Oh, I also put your channel and Aaron's channels in the chat, so go subscribe. We're trying to get John to 50 so he can do live streams on his channel. But John, you talked about this journey started a little bit late for you, and that's kind of why you're doing what you're doing in the Airbnb short-term rental space, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely in a time crunch of only having about 6 years before I want to retire. So I don't really have as much time to try to make things happen. So I'm trying to be the most effective I can with bringing in revenue. And if that means, extra work on the weekends and after work, what have you, that's no problem because, I just tend to work that way anyway. So I'm trying to maximize the monthly cash flow off of the properties that I've got going on.
All right, hold on. I think Aaron's having technical difficulties, but that's fine. He's on, but his camera's not working. Okay.
It almost looked like his camera.
Well, maybe
fell.
he's the one that needs the new camera. So John, maybe you want to promote the camera here.
You need a new camera.
So yeah, we can hear you, but we cannot see you right now. But,
I'm gonna log out and come back in.
All right, cool. So John, like you said, the Airbnb, I know that's is that what your channel is focused on, the short-term rental space?
It's not just short-term rental. I kind of like to just talk about the journey, that I've had. Obviously, hasn't been that successful with marriage, although I've got a very good wife now. She's wonderful. And, through those challenges and those failures, I've lost some real estate and lost, credit and all that kind of stuff, having to start to less than zero. So having to start over a few times. I started doing a lot of looking at budgets and things like that. Started looking at stuff with Dave Ramsey several years ago, and thought I was doing just kick ass with him because, I'd got through a bunch of the baby steps and I was just on, trying to pay off the house. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized that there's just no way I've got enough time to have a strategy like that work. So I switched gears and started going full on with pulling some equity out of my primary, which is my house hack, and bought the Airbnb and started jumping in with that strategy so I could try to maximize those profits as quickly as possible.
All right, and you also bring up Dave Ramsey again, like the last live, and everyone seems to think that you look just like him. I think that's why we had a big following on the last live. But a couple of things you brought up, maybe that's what we can kind of focus today's live on. Also, you talked about divorce and maybe setting you back, credit, maybe losing some properties, finance, and then I know Aaron, you have your second child on the way. So are those the kind of things that maybe change how we're thinking about our future financially wise? So maybe Aaron, you can touch on that.
So, I mean, obviously kids are an expense. I mean, anybody who has kids knows that, but I'm having my second kid. I'll have 2 under 2 at 44, turning 45 years old, and I retire in 3.5 years. So when I retire, I'll be daddy daycare unless I can find something else to do in retirement. So, I mean, quality of life is the biggest thing. If I'm spending every day flipping a house, like I'm gone from a 24-hour shift, come back, then I'm gone working on houses, and I never see my kids. Like, what kind of quality of life is that? So you just need to have a work-life balance to see how much money does my life cost, how much money do I have coming in, and what's worth your time. So obviously, I was just out trying to fix my excavator, and it's to the point where my son's running around poking and prodding at the engine, and I'm like, it's not worth my time right now. I'd rather spend time with my son. So financially, it's just $1 per hour. Like, what's the cost of your life, and then just do the calculations.
I forget what podcast I was listening to. I know they were talking about having kids and how people look at, like you said, it's an expense. It is very expensive today. But if you look at the wealthy, they said, like, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, Elon, all of them have a lot of kids in a sense. And some people are looking at it as expensive as kids may be to raise them. It also motivates you to become wealthier or work harder to increase your finances and be better from that standpoint. So do you guys think that makes sense? Or would you say people are not having kids also, that the numbers are down is because of the cost of it?
I think you can't paint the entire picture with one broad stroke of a brush. Like, it's kind of detailed, and it depends on who you are, where you are, what your money's making, how much it costs to live where you are. Obviously, DC is one of the more expensive places to live in the country, just like LA or New York City. So I looked up the cost there's a private school next to my firehouse. The private school costs for 8th grade $47,000 a year to go to 6th to 8th grade. So, like, for me, that's unrealistic. Like, well, if I want to stretch myself thin, we can make it work. But $47,000 is more than I paid to go to college. So at what point is it worth it? That's a lot of it's just networking, and it's just very DC life.
And I'm sure for some reason I have a feeling you partied a lot.
When I was a kid,
Yeah.
no, I didn't party. I don't even drink. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I mean, I did some wild shit when I was a kid, but I also grew up in a very specific atmosphere. I was riding motorcycles when I was 10 years old. So,
all right. So John, also you touched on what your a few divorces. Is that, like you said, it sets you back a little bit? Like, does that also motivate you to be better with your finances and from that standpoint?
Oh, it's a huge motivator because when things are easy all the time for people, they don't really learn from them as much. You got to have that risk of failure in there as well, and the failures are where you learn the most because you find out what your heart's made of. Are you able to get back up when you get thrown in the dirt and kicked in the gut? So you got to be able to get back up and learn from it. First of all, you don't want to repeat those mistakes, but you got to keep pushing towards that better future and trying to learn from those mistakes. And people get so scared that they don't take the chance to do anything at all. So they just end up being stagnant and not really doing much with their life. Go to work, go on the weekends. All they want to work for is the weekends. And what are they doing on the weekends? Getting drunk and watching a football game or, stuff like that. That's not really helping them much. So, there's a time for having that entertainment, but, there's a time to make a better future for yourself beyond the, 8 to 5 type of mentality.
The one thing I do want to say, John, about your camera though is this is a great like I guess distance from your camera to your face because the other lives, I was having a hard time editing the videos because your head was closer. So to try to edit them, I was
Yeah.
having no. Well, I'm not trying to make, but it was hard to get your head to fit on the editing. So this it just letting you know this is like a good.
Are you saying I got a big
Wow.
head, Mark?
Yeah, but this is the perfect distance I think for when I edit later.
Perfect. I actually played with quite a few settings to try to get it in a better position because it was very close up on the face at first, so I had to mess with the settings quite a bit to pull it back a little bit.
All right, and then let's see. Flavio has a question. He says, "Aaron, where do you find your flips?"
Oh God, this is what I'm doing the Monday podcast, or not the podcast, the live stream for our group about. It's so I started investing early 2000s. I went through the '08 crash, swap focus to tax liens, and then back then you can get the low hanging fruit off of the market. So you can just go on the market and try to buy a house that needs to be flipped, and there's a profit margin. So yeah, that's changed. You don't have the low hanging fruit like you did after the '08 crash, but the same token, you can still get off market deals. You have to market for them. So in the past, which I'm not doing right now, in the past, you can do data pulls. Right now, if I were to do it, I would use Faisal Morsi. He owns Pinpoint Skip. He's based out of Baltimore. The data points that he has on his data pulls are exponentially better than anybody else I've seen. Um, it's like I don't know, say like 30 or 40 data points per house, and it can go from the email to the phone number to what you should offer on it when they what their interest rate is, the projections for how much equity they have, and like 30 more data points. So if I were to do something, I would go to get data points pulled, and then you can do either cold calling, or you can do mailers, or you can do email, or you can do, you're not supposed to, depending on where you're at, voiceless or ringless voicemails, where it rings one time, goes straight to voicemail, and then you leave a voicemail about it if they're interested, it gets coming back. Next, I would do like a carrot website if you're starting off. I think the price is between like free and 100 and something bucks a month. Um, and it's basically made for real estate investors. You optimize your searching. So Keith Sant is somebody we had on our podcast before. He optimizes your website using SEO, search engine optimization, and then he does the information on there. So if you have a page with if you have a website with 3 different pages and they all have the same information, the same catchphrases, the same points. So like buy homes now, buy homes DC, buy homes in Washington DC. Each page is going to compete with each other. So you want to have one landing page with all that information to kind of score up higher in the Google searches. We had one guy, I think he's in Texas, and he spends like $30,000 a month on marketing. So he hits the emails, the phone calls, the cold calling, the letters, everything he could possibly do. He's to do door hangers. There's also a website called Investor Lift. You need to network with your wholesalers. I bought a property out there before my last son was born. I flipped the house in a month. That was a lucrative deal. It was a cash deal. I used a HELOC to buy it, or a line of credit to buy it. So there's multiple ways you can find deals, but you need to find your niche. So obviously, probate's different than divorce. That's different than probate, divorce, foreclosure, bankruptcy. Those are all kind of different facets. So you need to learn the moving parts within your demographic of area that you're going to invest in.
Sorry, I was trying to find John's comment on because actually the last live you were on with Tyler earlier this week about net worth, the net worth discussion got a lot of good feedbacks. Like you said too, your dad said he listened to it and watched it and said you sounded pretty educated. But John did comment on that one. He says everybody seems to calculate their worth differently. Some don't include primary equity. I prefer to include it. Do you have any thoughts on that, Aaron?
I don't. I mean, you got to know where your money's coming and going when you buy a property. It's like we talked about in the last podcast. Is if you buy $100,000 house at 8%, if you sell that same house for 200,000, you lose 8%. The middle market the middle number is your spread. So I think now most wholesalers, the spread is too thin. The after repair value is estimated too high. the cost of renovation has skyrocketed in comparison to 15 years ago. There's so many factors that play into real estate investing and how to look at it. If I'm doing my own work, which I've done most of my own work in my flips and rentals, it's a matter of pulling the numbers and seeing what makes the most sense for me. Like there's a water heater I need to replace at one of my properties, and it's to hire a plumber to come out and do it. It's like $1,200 to $1,500, whereas I can just go do it for like $500. So what's my time worth? I have the capabilities, but do I want to spend the time to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, like I said, that topic was a great discussion. And like you said, there's no real wrong answer. I think the biggest thing is that you can have a discussion about it, and that's the important thing, because cash flow and net worth are both very important. But that's actually going to that has led to a live debate on Tuesday, a fun one though, between people in the community. People don't know Dion Financial Talk is going to be debating with Brandon Potts, Build to Rent. They both have a little different view on net worth. So that's going to be a fun one. But that's all because of Aaron's topic that he came up with. So like I said, Aaron's always coming up with some good things to talk about.
What topic was that?
The net worth debate, as far as if it's, well, I forget the title I used, but it was basically if like cash flow or net worth is more important, I guess, in a sense. And
Oh, yeah.
so they're going to kind of have a friendly debate, because Dion refers to net worth as a push-up bra. It's nice to look at, but it doesn't provide much value. That's his stance. And Brandon, I know he's been on with you a few times on our lives, but Brandon has a different take on it, where he feels the true wealthy understand how to build net worth and use it. So cash flow is like that easy step where most people can understand how to develop it, but net worth is where you really build that true wealth. So it's going to be a fun.
But why not do a hybrid? I mean, if depending on where you're at in your career and where you're at in your investing, like why not just do a hybrid? Like maybe you can lend some, maybe you can flip some, maybe you can wholesale some, maybe you can keep them as buy and holds. But like, what's your ultimate goal? So we talked about this before. If you buy a residential investment property, the house value, not the land value, but the house value is deductible or depreciable for 27 and a half years. For real estate and commercial aspect, I think it's like 39 years. So do you need the write-offs against your earned income, or do you need cash flow? Like what's the biggest money mover for you? And I think it depends on the person. Like obviously, me, you, and John are all in different arenas for investing. And like right now I'm taking a step back completely from investing, except for what I currently have. So like maybe you guys want to push forward where I'm hitting the brakes. So do you need the cash flow to buy the next property? Do you need the equity position in order to get approved for the next loan? Do you need more cash flow to get approved for a loan? Are you going to use hard money lenders? Back to the calculations, if you're going to use a hard money lender, right now, hard money lending is between 10 and 13%, up to 15%, which is astronomical, and then 1 to 3 points. So a point is 1% of the loan. So if it's a $100,000 loan, it's an additional $1,000. So the houses around here, $300,000-$400,000. So 1 point is three or 400,000. 1 point is $3,000 to $4,000. So you multiply that by 3. So now you're at like $12,000 just in points alone. So calculate that into your spread. And is it going to affect the back end for the refinance, the cash out refi, the whatever you might do in the back end? Is there enough profit margin there for you? So I'll argue all sides of this fence. It just depends on where you're at.
I'm sure you'll argue. So go check out Aaron on Facebook, and he likes to stir the pot a little bit more than I do. But John, like you touched on, right? It's like or Aaron said, right? It kind of depends on your situation, and that's kind of why you're more focused on cash flow right now. And also Frank, old guy REI, is tuning in, and same thing. He's on the older side, and he's had some. He went bankrupt before doing real estate, and he finally got back into it. But for him also, right, he's trying to speed up the retirement portion and trying to increase the cash flow for himself right now, right? So is that your kind of vision and why you're doing the short-term rental?
Well, when you're starting out, cash flow is king. Okay, that equity isn't going to matter to you if the property is in a negative position as far as your cash flow. That's just going to kill you, and you don't have that much money to begin with because you're just starting out. So that cash flow has got to be more of the priority, I think, than the equity build on it. I mean, sure, it's absolutely wonderful to get both, but I think the cash flow is more important in the beginning phases, because you're not going to be able to even have your reserves built up if you don't have any cash flow, because you got an alligator biting at your bank account all the time. So you need to worry about that cash flow first, and then you worry about the equity, because the equity really is going to build that wealth for you. But if you don't have that cash flow, you're never going to get to that point.
We should talk about prenups and postnups with you too.
Yeah,
That seems like one of the biggest money drainers in the world.
absolutely. Hold on. Let's just say
I didn't learn that on the first two. Okay, stop judging me.
Owen's tuning in. Thanks for stopping by. I haven't seen you here before, but please subscribe. Please subscribe to John and Aaron's channels also. But he said, I think he's talking about you doing the water heater. I believe you said, Aaron, it's only 500 if your time and back has no value. I think, yeah, I know you were saying something about repairing it yourself or whatever your time's worth, but then further down he comments, good chance that water heater gets more expensive real soon, so probably do it now. FYI, air conditioners will be even worse.
Yeah, I mean it's true. It just depends on where they're manufactured at and the parts and everything like that. But I mean, I've been a contractor for the better part of 20 years, so this is nothing new to swing a hammer at my own property. And that's, if there's $1,000 to be made or saved, I mean, it's still $1,000 that either I can put in my pocket or give to my kids or invest somewhere else. Prenups, though, all right, back to prenups, because now I'm going to poke the fucking bear with you two. Prenups is a prenuptial agreement that you have with your wife that if you guys get divorced, how the money is and the assets are split up. And you can actually get a post-nuptial agreement as well, because if you don't have one of these in place and you have a really nasty divorce, and I was just talking to one of my buddies about this when I was back there cursing my excavator. He's going through this right now, and he's like, dude, I should have gotten a prenup, because I didn't think about it. Nobody ever told me, because he grew up in the same neighborhood I did. He's like, I don't know anything about this kind of stuff when I got married. And now he's wealthy, well-to-do. He's a money manager, and it sounds like he's going to be in a rough spot in the upcoming years, not just heartbreak, but for finances, because he's got, I think, 2 or 3 kids as well. Oh, one of the guys at the firehouse, because firefighters, we're at an 80% divorce rate. So I'm not going to knock anybody who gets married. It's just be smart with your money in the back end. Like if and where I'm at, if you, I think the wife gets half of your retirement for every year that you worked or something like that, something crazy. So I know guys who are going to keep working just so their ex-wives don't get their money.
Yeah, and Lynn also has a YouTube channel. Go check it out. I think I have her link. But anyways, she's saying we already have a prenup according to what state you get married in. So that also plays a factor into it too, right?
That's a fact. And if you don't have that conversation in the beginning, if you can't have that conversation then, how are you going to have it when you're not getting along?
It's a fact.
You want to have that stuff early and actually have that good communication while you're all in, the rainbows and happiness kind of stuff, before you're married. You got to get that kind of communication going beforehand, because otherwise you're just sunk.
And people, I mean, some people grow together, some people grow apart. It's like your friendships and your relationships. It's a part of life. It just depends on if you guys can weather that storm or not. And sometimes they don't work out because who knows why. Like there's no one reason. But if it's in a bad situation, then they might want to take advantage as much as possible of the other person. You've seen, I think the NBA player recently who got knocked, I think he was 23 and she was 38. He knocked her up. He told her he don't want the kid, have an abortion, whatever your beliefs are about that. And she said, no, I'm going to have it. So he had to go to court, and the judge was like, this is your payments. He was like, well, how much for all of it? And like, what do you mean? He's like, I want to pay all of it up front. I want nothing to do with this kid. I don't want to make payments every month. I'll pay one lump sum for the next 21 years for this kid. What's it going to look like? That way she can't go back and forth when he makes more money or if he gets a bonus in the NBA and stuff like that. So some people are gold diggers and they're just out for a free ride. I see a lot of that in Norfolk, Virginia, where guys get off the ships and there's women who are just looking for a free ride for the military husband, stuff like that. I'm sure you guys have a lot of that in Honolulu too.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's probably one of the, like they say, right? It's probably your biggest financial decision, right, you're going to make, in a sense, right, who you choose as a partner. I do, like I said, I put Lindsay's channel in the chat, John's channel, and First Responder Financial Freedom. So go please check them out. Subscribe. We're trying to get John to 50 so he can do live streams. I also got confirmation that I can mention this on the live, but if anyone hasn't heard, Lindsay has done a recording with Bigger Pockets Rookie. So I'm not sure when that's going to be coming out. So stay on the lookout for that. So that's super cool. I saw her post something on Instagram. So we'll be looking for that. Did they come up?
Jason.
Yeah. Did they come up with an amount for him to pay?
I don't know, but like, if you look at, I have no idea what that would be. If it's $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year times 21 years, I'm sure it's like $10 million. I have no idea. But rather than her coming back after him when he's making more money in the NBA, why not pay for it now and get it all done? We'll call it lower overhead. I hate to say it that way because there's a child involved and it wasn't the child's fault, but I don't know. There's a lot of morals there that I don't agree or disagree with.
Frank says if she's not open for that conversation in the beginning, maybe she's just not the right one.
Completely agree.
I agree
Frank.
too.
So did you have those conversations, John?
The last one I did. The first ones, no, I didn't.
Lindsay is saying May 12th supposedly is when she's being told the episode's going to release. So everyone be on the lookout for that. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I definitely think, for me, I'm supporting my son's mom a little bit more than I on paper need to, but it's also, I don't really want my son seeing her struggling in a sense and him maybe wanting to spend more time here because we're able to do more things, I guess, financially wise. So I try to help her as much as I can, more than I probably need to, but it's good, it works. But yeah, it's a big drain, it's a big expense for me.
I'm gonna bite my tongue. I've got a great life. I've got one kid on the way in the next week or two, and I've got a wife that loves me and I love them, so I'm in a good position. Like I said, I skipped my first divorce because I got married so late in my life.
Well, you better tell her to listen to this one or tune into this one so she can hear you speaking highly of her, just like how your dad tuned into the other one. And so how did he saw it? You shared it, right?
So I shared it on this. I'll tell you the story. So I shared it on my Facebook page and I tagged you and Tyler. And apparently my mom saw it, so she opened it up. So my dad called me and he's like, "Hey man, I heard you talking shit to two guys today." And I was like, "I don't think I talked shit to anybody today, did I?" And he's like, "Yeah, you were talking big shit." He's like, "You're cussing too much too." I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, I don't a phone." He's like, I was like, "A podcast?" He's like, "I don't know what that is." He's like, "But you're talking to two dudes." I was like, "Oh," I was like, "That's a podcast, Pop." I was like, "I get interviewed once in a while, or I do interviews with people." And he was like, "Oh," he's like, "I've never heard it before." He's like, "You sounded pretty smart." I was like, "Thanks. It only took you 44 years to tell me that. I appreciate it, Pop." So he's like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "You're well spoken. I really appreciate that you actually put that stuff out there." I was like, "God, is something wrong? Like, are you giving me this isn't compliments?" My dad's like kind of the guy that gives compliments. So I'm like, "Is something else happening you want to talk about, Pop?" But yeah, it was cool. It's the first podcast my dad ever listened to. So and apparently that was like an hour and a half long. So he spent some time sitting there.
That's great, man. So yeah, I think, like I said, this is what it's all about, right? Sharing our journeys. Hopefully we can resonate with a lot of people and hopefully they can get on this path and even just, reach people and hopefully help them fulfill their goals and maybe avoid divorces and whatnot based on what we're talking about today. To have those discussions about prenups and whatnot. But so John, what's with the channel? I guess what's the next plans for the channel? Is 50 that next goal for you then?
Yeah, trying to push up to 50 so I can start doing some live stuff. But I actually have some updates for anybody that is looking at doing ADUs in Reno, Nevada. City Council just did a meeting last week, and they're still dragging their feet. And as far as the lady that I'm in contact with, Grace McAdam, she is absolutely wonderful. She's been, really pushing to get all the information out there. And she just informed me that they're about to drag their feet even worse because state of Nevada is about to put through some legislation concerning ADUs. So the city doesn't want to change what their legislation is until the stuff goes through for the state. That way they're not having to redo anything. So they're dragging a little bit. But the biggest problem I see with the city is the fact that I don't know that they really have figured out the definitions, because they keep bringing up stuff that is specific to guest quarters. When you're talking guest quarters, that's usually a primary occupied residence, and it's usually going to be like a family member in there, like your aging parents, or your college kids, things of that nature. And that's some of the stuff that's actually in the zoning for doing guest quarters. Now, an ADU, that is always going to be a rental type proposition. And they keep, throwing the different terminology back and forth on whether they want to have it be a primary residence only kind of thing, or, that type of thing. So it's kind of a challenge trying to get them to figure out that ADUs are for rentals. They are not for, aging family members or college kids or whatever. They can be used for that, and that's nice for the flexibility, but really you're trying to make an investment there to basically house hack. And when I actually did some math, some of the opposing viewpoints on ADUs are that you're going to have these huge investors come in and turn an entire neighborhood that was zoned single family into basically a multifamily neighborhood, which they didn't want. And the facts are that Washoe County and the city of Sparks in the last year only had 10, and they actually have the ability to do ADUs currently. So you're only talking 10 properties out of all these housing units that got ADUs. And Grace said that in the city of Reno, there has only been 5 to 10 inquiries over the years. Each year there's only like 5 or 10 inquiries. So that kind of lines up with what Washoe County and Sparks is doing. So, if you actually do the math, it's 0.00008% of the properties out there would have an ADU. So, I mean, it is almost nothing. So, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of, stuff that doesn't have any data behind it. And, that's what I'm trying to push them towards, is a little more data-driven decisions rather than fear-mongering, because, there's so many people that are just thinking that it's going to destroy neighborhoods. And it's like, you're talking one more car at the property, which if anybody has parties, they've got more than that out there with, having guests come over. Anybody coming over for Christmas or Thanksgiving is going to have more cars than that out on the street parking, but they want to require an additional parking space. So, okay, that's fine. Make it an additional parking space to do that. That's no big deal. But there's just so much fear that, there's going to be this huge influx of people coming in to do ADUs, and the data just doesn't show that kind of stuff. So trying to really, write all of the council members, the city mayor, it looks like I'm going to have to start doing the same kind of stuff with the state people as well, to try to get them on board so that we can start doing this stuff legally.
The ADUs, there's a guy, his name is Derek Sherrill. He's known as that ADU guy. He was big on Bigger Pockets. He's a buddy of mine.
I've reached out to him.
Derek's good people. He does a lot of infill now. His dog just passed away, I think yesterday. I talked to him. But he's like that kind of knowledge guy for the ADUs. And anybody who doesn't know what that is an accessory dwelling unit or a granny flat or an in-law suite.
Ohana suite.
Ohana suite. So depending on where you are, it has a different nickname to it. Some are attached, some are not attached, some are detached. The ones when we went through this here in the DC area, there's 2 counties I can think of off the top of my head. The way it was sold to the county was, hey, as long as it fits the setback rules and it has its own water supply, it's got its own electric supply, then it's taxable square footage on that deed. So if your house is $1,000 per square feet and it bumps up to another 500 square feet, it's 500 square feet of earned income that the county is going to get. So I mean, there's different ways. Like I had a buddy of mine, he built an ADU onto his property in Gettysburg for his parents to live at. I'm looking at properties out on the shore to like 30 or 40 acres to build a house for my in-laws, my parents, me, and then maybe a retreat suite, like a event space. So it's just the counties a lot of these counties don't want to take it on because either they're too lazy or it doesn't really fit the narrative that they have. So you have to get in the right person's ear to kind of push the agenda. But here, like I can go to outside of DC, it's Montgomery County above it, PG County next to it. Montgomery County has ADUs, PG County does not. The one next to us by Annapolis is Anne Arundel County, and they have ADUs. But all of it has to meet very specific criteria.
We were actually having some issue with the council saying that they didn't want anything that didn't have at least a 9,000 square foot lot. And, most of your residential neighborhoods are not going to have that big a lot. So, if they're going to make laws, they got to make laws that are, applicable to the majority of people as long as it fits the setting. If you're going to make it where it's so restrictive that it's not worth doing, then you're just wasting everybody's time.
Yeah, that's why
we're trying to get the setbacks and try to get the land usage for the residents on the land. They've already got laws in place for setbacks and how much usage of the land can be used for residents. So we're trying to push it where they don't even have a square footage size and just use the existing laws that are already there to be able to do that, along with doing the additional parking spot. They seem really set on that additional parking spot.
Well, John, if you did go to the first ORAD event the other year, you would have been able to meet that ADU guy in person, but you didn't show up. So let's see.
And where was I, Mark?
With your second wife? I don't know. Which wife are you with? You're traveling somewhere.
I was in Vietnam with my wife.
All right. Hold on. Owen's tuning in. He does have some comments here. He says, on the topic of air conditioning, we are changing to a new refrigerant this year. Almost every domestic producer of equipment chose R454B as the new gas. There's now a national shortage, and a 25-pound jug is $2,500.
Yep. So if you recharge your system, that jug costs $2,500. I know exactly what he's going through. I actually just saw one go at auction. Somebody was auctioning off a commercial site, and that's one of the things they were auctioning off was they didn't know what it was. They just had it as like propane tank, I think it was. And I sent it to my buddy. He's like, bro, those are at the time I think it was like 2,800 or 2,300, something like that. He's like, bro, I'll get this thing for $100, I guarantee. So he ended up getting it for like I don't know, like fucking $25 or something crazy. So because they didn't know what it was. So like unless you work in that industry, like you for the most part don't know what these things are. But that's the thing. It goes back to when you cost to renovate a house or build a house. It's kind of like these are the factors. This wasn't an issue a couple of years ago, and now because they're changing it to the new refrigerant, like that's a new expense that you have to add on. And $2,500 isn't going to break the bank, especially for a new build, but it's still a cost. It's still more than I'm making in a month in the fire department. I'm sorry, in 2 weeks in the fire department.
Flavio says here in Washington, ADU got approved. We are short on housing. Mm-hmm. Also, I'm not sure if it affects you, Flavio, or your area, but I think your area just approved the rent control also, right? Is that correct? You can correct me, Flavio. I think he's in that area where the rent control just went into play or got signed or whatnot.
We had that in the area. There's a town called Tacoma Park in DC. It's in DC, PG County, and Montgomery County. It's one city in 3 locations, and they just passed that. And because of that, I've seen an influx of investment properties coming to market because these people are restricted by what they can charge in the future.
Yeah, like I said, rent control sounds nice, but a lot of the studies show that over the long term, it's actually more detrimental than anything, right, for the housing supply and whatnot, and for rentals. So we'll see. But that's something you can probably post and stir up some controversy on Facebook, I believe, Aaron. So what is your most recent one that got a lot of traction on Facebook?
For posting?
Or for stirring the pot with people. I know I saw one that was kind of interesting, the one you're asking about holding accountability and whatnot.
The most controversy, most responses I got the last day was, if you're off duty, don't introduce yourself by rank. It's weird. So this is the military, the police department, the fire department. So like, if I'm like, hey, I'm Staff Sergeant Aaron Foster, and like I'm meeting somebody at the bar, that's fucking weird, bro. Like, why? I don't give a fuck if you're a staff sergeant. I had somebody the other day, he came by the firehouse. He's like, yeah, I'm Lieutenant so-and-so from Poughkeepsie, Idaho. I was like, your rank absolutely means dog shit to me here in DC, bro. And then I had a fucking, I know my language is terrible. I don't care. I had somebody text me the other day. It was like, hello, Firefighter Foster. This is Lieutenant so-and-so. I'm like, first of all, I don't know you. Why are you texting me? Like, he obviously wanted me to make him something because I own a woodworking company. And I was like, cool, bro. I appreciate you reaching out, bro. Like, thanks, pal. Bro, we're off duty. I don't give a shit. Like, and your rank in the department does not affect me whatsoever, even if we're at work. So it'd be like, hey, my name's Jeff. Like, what's up, Jeff? Good to meet you. Not like, I don't know, airman fucking cocksucker. It's fucking weird. Fucking people are weird. And that's their identity. Like, that's another thing I have an issue with. Let's just go on a rant here. Because fuck these people. If your whole identity is one thing, like if you work for, I don't know, USDA and your manager so-and-so, like if your entire personality revolves around that, good for you, but don't expect everybody else to include that in their lives. Like, I don't give a shit if you're Captain so-and-so from FDNY. Like, it doesn't make a damn bit of difference to my day-to-day life. Like, don't introduce yourself as that because it's kind of arrogant and kind of weird.
I'm surprised that one stirred up that much, but Owen agrees. Owen says that's a great post.
Thanks, Owen. Appreciate you, bro.
Big Val says they want respect on their names.
Okay, you can get that in your job, in your own arena. Like, if you work at the fire department and you want somebody to call you captain, cool. At work, you can call you captain. I'm gonna tell you a story, because I love these. So one of my boys at work, he grew up in the hood. And I say the hood, I mean, it was a very, 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 very rough area. And when I grew up in DC, it was the murder capital of the U.S. So he started working with this officer, and they were out at an after party, like a Christmas party or something like that. And the officer told him, he's like, you can excuse yourself, the adults are talking, or something very condescending and rude to him. So he pulled out a fucking gun and slammed it on the table. He was like, oh, the fucking adults are talking. Who's talking now, motherfucker? And I was like, gotta learn who to talk to the right way. You can't talk to everybody sideways. So yeah, your rank means nothing when you're off duty or not in your area. I don't care if you're a fucking captain in Poughkeepsie, Idaho, or wherever the hell you're from.
John, you can follow Aaron on Facebook now.
Yeah, anybody can follow me.
That sounds good.
For the most part, I don't pull punches because let's be honest, like where I've got to in my life, nobody's helped me to the point where like I really give a shit about what your opinion is. And I'm not trying to promote myself or sell anything or sell courses. Like, that's never going to be me. Any information I have, I'm going to try to relay it for free because I like helping people. I think it's the right thing to do. It's a God-given talent, we'll say. But at the same time, I love stirring the pot and like making people think for themselves. The other one that you're talking about. So everybody kind of sees me as this conservative, blah, blah, blah. They think I'm this like far right-wing nut job. Cool, whatever. I was a registered Democrat up until 2 years ago. And the only reason I changed it was because of all the devious dirt that I would see in DC. I'm a JFK Democrat of years back when, which I think more of the Republican side is more centered now towards that. So we always talk about this, that it doesn't matter if it's the left wing or the right wing of the bird, they're both they're both dirty. So I like stirring the post. Sometimes I stir the pot left, sometimes I stir the pot right. And it's funny to see who comes out of the woodwork. Because like if I post about Trump, everybody's like, screw Trump, he's a con and he's a felon and blah blah blah. And if I post about anti-Trump, people are like, yeah, because he hasn't given us our bonuses, our Doge bonuses, and blah blah blah. I'm like, have some critical thinking, people.
Yep, that's why I love following you. I think that's why we get along. It's a lot of fun. Let's see what else real quick. Flavio says yes, rent control 7% per year. Let's see what else. That's it.
That's not terrible. That's not terrible. I mean, if it appreciates at 2 or 3%.
I know I've never had a politician pay for any of my bills, so I don't really care who's in there.
I had one of our state delegates. He rented from me years ago, and I'm still friends with him. And he is like, he started like on a little left, and then he went far left. I'm like, who are you, bro? Like, you are not the person who I've known for the last 2 decades. And I think it's one of those, the politicians is they have to get in where they fit in. So they conform to what the populace or what they think the populace wants to hear. Fuck it. That's why you don't trust them. They're all dirty.
Yep, absolutely. Like even like John, you were saying, they don't pay your bills, but it is good to kind of just understand what's going on, because like you're dealing with, right, trying to figure out this ADU getting approved or permitted, right? How you're having to go through these obstacles and hoops, so you can see how who's in office can play a role on how these processes, like certain states, right, things are go a lot quicker because of deregulation and whatnot. So it's not as if like they pay your bills, but it definitely is somewhat important to kind of know who's in office, so how you're going to navigate. But at the same time, there's others that are going to just complain about who's in office, and there's others like John, like you're saying, you're trying to figure out how to get through this process, right? Depending on, it doesn't matter who's in office, but you're going to have to figure it out. But as you can see, it does play a role in how easy or how difficult it could be, right?
Well, anybody can, sit there and complain and not do anything about it. But, you get up there and take a little action, then, you got to learn how to play that game. And, that takes a little more effort. So, I don't want to just sit on the couch and whine and cry about shit. I want to actually get in there and see if I can't, change some minds and give them a different thought process maybe they hadn't thought about before, and try to quell those fears with some data-driven decisions.
Let me ask you a question. Have you looked into building your ADUs? Are you doing like a stick build or a prefab, or like any ideas how you want to do it?
It's actually part of the existing building.
Oh, so you want to do an add-on?
It's actually it doesn't even add on. It is literally just changing some space downstairs.
So you want like a basement ADU? That's where I'm at right now. It's my basement in my office.
Yeah. I got it's a 2-story. So the first story has the garage and some living space, and then upstairs is a full-on 3-bedroom, 2-bath, kitchen, dining room, living room, all of that upstairs. And it's kind of built into a hill. So the upstairs is actually level with the backyard. So the front, has the 2 stories, and I've got separate doorways. Once you go into the entranceway, there's separate doors going to the lower unit and to the upper unit. So it's already got a bathroom down there. And the gentleman I bought it from actually was renting it out, but he did such an incredibly crappy job that I ripped everything out. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do this right. And so I'm starting over with it. It already had the bathroom in there from when it was built new. So that's, a big part of that expense right there. But, just making sure that you got the 2 forms of egress for the bedroom, that type of stuff. So I had to kind of change the layout in it, but it actually worked out a lot better. So, I'm literally got the architectural plans are done. Everything's ready to go. It's just a matter of getting the city to get off their butts and actually put it through.
The one thing you mentioned was like 2 stories in the front and 1 in the rear or something like that. So here in Maryland and DC, I think Virginia, the livable square footage is the above ground. So it's taxable. So a lot of developers, what they'll do is they'll do one in the front and two in the back. So the house will be on a slope for that reason, because it costs the buyer less in taxes, because it's any basement is not taxable. Yeah, so a lot of
Nice.
people have unfinished basements. Like I'm one of the where the water heater is. I have 3 houses on that lot, and the basements are all unfinished for various reasons. But if an investor comes in and buys these from me in the next couple of years, then they'll have square footage they can add on to the property to increase the value, increase the probably rentability or rentability. And one of the things I actually just emailed Derek Sherrill a couple of days ago, because we were talking about, he does a lot of stick built stuff. There's something called Superior Walls, where it's pre-made prefab walls. They bring it and set it in place. A buddy of mine just did it at one of his properties. I've done it. The development that we did in Western Maryland, they did that there, and it was like a 1/16 of a thousandth inch off, which is really, really impressive for something that's 2,000, 3,000 square feet. So we've been looking at doing prefab structures, but concrete, and then you can have it dried in within 24 to 48 hours. If they set the walls in one day, the next day you can have your trusses brought in, set on top of it, and then the roof dried in within 48, 72 hours. So if you ever want to look at doing it, I think it's faster than any stick built or prefab houses that are out there.
We actually had city council bringing up, buying a Home Depot shed and turning that into an ADU kind of stuff. And I'm just like, hey, there's actually some decent sheds out there that, if you wanted to do tiny house kind of stuff, wouldn't be terrible for that idea. But, at the end of the day, most people are not doing that kind of stuff. They're going to actually build a smaller unit in the back if they've got the space for it, or they're going to turn something off their existing house into something like what I'm doing. I'm not even changing the footprint on the property. So it's just kind of a trip that they don't get more excited about getting, some more housing for the, the area, because we're short on housing as well. I mean, average housing here is like $600,000. So, it's not cheap to live here whatsoever.
Yeah, that's a problem I feel like any populous area is having right now, is that people are priced out. The sheds, I think it's funny you said that, because I just had another firefighter asking me about that. And he was like, yeah, man, he's like, I'm going to buy these sheds. I'm going to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, it won't pass inspection in Maryland. He's like, why? I was like, well, the exterior is supposed to be a 2x6 frame out now, not a 2x4. The old days when it was true to size lumber was a true 2x4. You can get the insulation to fit. But unless you're going to do spray foam, it's going to have to be 2x6 in the exterior. The joists have to be bigger than a 2x4. Those sheds are built in. It's just the way those things are built. It's just they're not meant to last. And I think it's popular. It's cool to talk about. Like maybe you can get away with it in West Virginia or Pennsylvania or somewhere here, but they're never going to pass places that are high populous, because the inspection guy is never going to pass it. It's not going to happen. The spray foam, same thing for barn dominiums right now. Spray foams in barn dominiums are really popular. Barn dominiums are just basically big metal buildings, and people are drying them in and then putting spray foam in there, and the spray foam isn't done right, and the water's getting behind it, and it's rusting the roofs and the walls out from the inside out, because there's no barriers, no vapor barriers, and not being done right. So I love a lot of these concepts. It's just which ones can we actually move forward with and create housing for people that are struggling to afford where they can live at and work.
You're talking about the closed cell and the open cell.
Yeah, same thing. Like that's kind of the conversation. It's like people don't know it, and these guys are spraying it. Like they don't care as long as you pay them to spray. They'll spray whatever is cheap for them. They have the biggest profit margins.
Yeah, I like the idea of the barn dominiums because I need a lot more shop space than I need living space. But
me and you both, brother.
I build a 4-wheel drive unit, so I've got a 7.3 Excursion that's all jacked up. I've got a LJ type Jeep that I'm getting 1-ton axles under it right now. So shop space is a premium, and I just don't have it. So I'm out on the driveway a lot because the garage just doesn't fit.
Oh man, that makes that. Oh god, I want to put a Quigley 4x4 under my E350. I've got a big old van. I've got two giant wolfhounds. With two giant wolfhounds, a dog and my wife. The two dogs, my two kids and my wife. I'm gonna have to have something big. So I was like, well, maybe I can get a Quigley, 4x4 conversion and put it under the van. And look at the cost, and I was like, I can't justify it. I really want to because it looks cool, but I can't justify it.
Well, I bought the Jeep before I started all this real estate stuff, and needless to say, it's kind of a money sink. But it's been a dream Jeep for a long, long time, so it's not something I'm going to get
Quality of
rid
life, man. That's a good point. Like quality of life. Like what quality of life do you have? If it's building cars or like I'm about to list my motorcycle for sale just because I have two kids. I haven't ridden it in a year and a half. So what makes you happy?
Well, before I met my wife, I had 5 vehicles for just myself.
Yeah, man. Monday through Friday, and then the weekends you can pick and choose.
Well, and like you said, I had a motorcycle, so that thing. The only time I ever rode it was once a year for street vibrations. So got rid of that one first, and I've been slowly getting rid of the herd of vehicles out there, and I'm down to just the 2 now, and it works out pretty good because I don't have as many vehicles to try to maintain, and I can concentrate a little bit of money on 1 or 2 vehicles a lot more effectively than on 5.
Flavio's right. The 7.3 are gold. Those things are bulletproof.
It is. It is a very nice unit, and the funny thing is, my dad's got a really nice Dodge diesel, and he only gets about 12 miles to the gallon, and I get 15.1.
Yeah. There's gas guzzlers. My brother has this big old. I don't know what he has. I know he spent like $100,000 in this truck, and it's massive. My brother's a big guy, but he's getting like it's a gasser. It's not a diesel. I'm like, why would you buy a gasser, bro? Like this thing's. I want to say it's like a F350 quad cab with extended bed and like a cap on the back or something. I'm like, what are you doing? Like I've never seen you haul lumber. You can't swing a hammer. Why? What are you hauling in that thing?
Well, the funny thing is, I've got this big diesel truck, and I hardly ever haul anything that challenges it whatsoever.
Oh, so you actually haul? You use it though, right? You don't have it like a pavement princess.
Oh no, it goes out in the hills. It goes wherever I need it to go.
My brother has a pavement princess.
My boss has a very jacked up truck that it should be in shows and what have you. It's on 40-inch wheels, and I'm just like, okay, this is a little ridiculous because he doesn't do anything with it. He can't even load his motorcycle up in it. He's got to haul it in a trailer because it's so tall.
Oh God! I guess he did buy more real estate so we can afford more vehicles and more toys.
Well, I thought about doing that, but truthfully, I'm kind of thinking about after I retire, maybe getting rid of everything and having it all be rentals and just run around and rent out Airbnbs and go wherever I want.
It's a license, and I want to say it's North Dakota. I could be wrong. Where it's called the RV state, where you don't have a home that's your primary. You get a license there. You stay there one night a year to get the license, and then if you have a whole bunch of rentals, you don't have to pay money on your primary. So it's called like the nice. Let's look it up. I think it's called the RV license.
All right, while you're looking that up, I'm going to say what's up to Big Andy tuning in. He said, so Andy actually messaged me before the live. He said he's in north of Cincy looking at carriage house apartment above a funeral home for his daughter because I guess she's going to live and work while going to mortuary college. So cool. But Andy, thanks for tuning in, man. But yeah, this was a fun one. I mean, I don't know how much time you guys have. I know we're keeping Aaron from doing the work that he's trying to avoid, but I don't know if you want to get back to that. I know John just wanted to test out your camera, so everything works good. I think this is good setting for you. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow morning with Sarah Garrett and Lindsay, who I mentioned earlier, who will be on Bigger Pockets Rookie soon. But she's an immigrant, and Sarah Garrett really wants to know more about Lindsay's story. So that'll be tomorrow, and then
Are you allowed to
Tuesday.
say that?
Oh, sorry. What is the proper?
I have no idea. That's why I'm asking. Are you allowed to say
I
it?
don't know. That was in our WhatsApp thread. So someone's. Yeah. And then Tuesday is going to be that fun debate with Dion and Brandon build to rent. But yeah, we can talk about whatever you guys. I don't know how much time you guys have, so it's up to you guys. But I'm good for a little while. So
I'm good for a little while too, because I just got a reservation extended, so I don't have to go turn the short-term rental like I thought I was going to have to
Nice.
this morning.
Working out for you. Let's see what else I got here.
Oh, we lost you, Aaron. Your voice is gone again.
Oh,
Your lips are moving, but no sound coming through.
there we go.
I don't know. This restream keeps telling me, do I want to leave the website? Do I want to leave the website? And then it clicks on the microphone and resets it back to the original one. I don't know if it's the website or something on my end. Pain in the butt. Whatever.
Hey, Aaron, I did have a question for you. Do you prefer the tank style water heaters or the tankless water heaters?
I like tank. Tankless has its place, but tankless is obviously on demand water. You have to have the space behind the shower or the space to run the pipes for it to make sense. I like it for what they are, but they usually are more maintenance in my experience. The tank water heater, you spend more money on the how do I say this? Utilities to maintain it, and most people don't maintain them anyways. So if you have gas or electric, it's usually a higher cost than having on demand because it's not constantly trying to keep it warm. So like anything else, like most houses nowadays, most houses in general are set up for tank water heaters, and tankless is just a higher upfront cost where you can hope to recover the cost and utilities later on. So I like tank just because I'm used to it, and I don't have good experience with tankless.
Yeah, I've got a tank for the whole property over with the short-term rental, but trying to build out the ADU downstairs, I'm trying to separate the electrical on it, and I thought a tankless might be a nice fit for that since it's just a one bedroom, one bath down
Do you
there.
have a living room? I'm sorry, not a living room, a kitchen, bath, and then shower? Is that the only thing it's feeding? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's if you have space for it to hide behind the walls and run the pipes, it's easy. But you have to have access to it to do the maintenance.
Well, the garage is right on the other side of the wall, so super easy. Just put it in the garage.
If the plumbing's an easy run, I would say that. Just if it's the plumbing run is easy. If it's not easy, you're trying to feed basically 3 different appliances: the kitchen sink, the shower, and the bathroom sink and toilet. As long as it's an easy run, I would say yeah, absolutely. You can even PEX that if you need to.
Yeah, the utility room for the heater and the water heater are actually right on the other side of the wall as well. So I've got gas for running the heater and the water heater. So it would be very simple to pop a gas line out right there and have the water right there and be able to feed those. And they're all within, 20 feet of each other. So, it's super quick, super easy. I've already got PEX going to some of the other stuff, so it'd be pretty simple.
Yeah, your cost is just higher to buy the tankless, so it's just a matter of, and it looks like Owen said the same thing. It's just a matter of the upfront cost versus recovery on utilities, and I think that's what Owen was trying to say. So the main did tankless and endless hot water, you'll never get a payback. So I guess that's the return on your investment because utilities are never going to catch up to how much the upfront cost is for these things, especially the install. So it depends. I mean, if you can put it in yourself, you probably save a couple bucks. Just like I'm thinking about doing that the water heater at one of my rentals. I don't know. It's just like I'll argue any side of it. It just depends on what your preference is. Because you have to do maintenance and replacement more often than a water heater, a regular standard water heater. Like most people don't drain their water heaters every year or every 5 years or ever in their life to get rid of any kind of calcium buildup and sediment that has settled at the bottom. So when you open these things up and cut them open, they're absolutely disgusting. I'm guilty of it too. So if you do that and drain it and clean it out, once a year, those things will last a lot longer than anything else.
Owen says if you want to always have hot water under any circumstance, otherwise any water that hot also requires maintenance more. The hotter it is, the more minerals precipitate out of the water. I also want to mention this week I'll be releasing the video with Erica, good friend of Aaron. So that was a fun one. The district injector. So that was interesting. But I really want to focus more on the business side of how she got into the business and changing that mindset of going from nursing to starting her own business. But that'll be a fun one. If not, you can always go check out Aaron. They came out on Spotify and Apple, I believe. Not on YouTube yet. I didn't see it on YouTube yet, but the episode with Erica is also out on their channel on Spotify.
So Eric, so here's another funny story. So Erica and I've been friends for about a decade. She does a lot of how do I say this? Male enhancements. So we'll say injectables, and it's whether for various reasons. It's a cool podcast to listen to. But she texted me yesterday, and she was like, "Hey, what's going on by her shop in DC?" And I was like, "I don't know." And I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh, it looks like you guys have an active shooter next door." So come to find out, somebody tried to rob the hair salon that's next to her office, and she's probably one of the nicest neighborhoods for a business in DC that there is, which is kind of a surprise. Somebody tried to rob it, and she sent me the videos of the police that are going up there to stop the shooter, whoever the guy robbing it. It was pretty funny to watch the cops run up completely out of shape and have no idea what they're doing for clearing rooms. And when I told her yesterday, I told her and I told one of my
Aaron, we lost your voice again, bud.
You hear me?
Yeah, trust me, I'm not muting you. You know that, right? I'm not. You're gone again. They're censoring us.
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you now.
All right. It just keeps kicking off. It's doing it right now too. But the long story short is every kind of active shooter I've done for drilling with MPD, everybody dies. So unless they're going to give me a gun, I'm not going in. That's my story.
Yeah, no.
I'm done talking because you keep muting me.
I'm not muting. They're muting us. They've heard about you. That's what I was gonna ask on your post on Facebook. Do I got to bring my tinfoil hat to the round table on Monday?
Aaron's
see,
being
you're
too
muted
blunt.
again. All right, well, that's a sign. Maybe it's time to wrap it up. John, thanks for doing this. Hopefully your camera worked out.
I appreciate
Aaron,
the help,
I will
man.
check out the restream settings and see if you're able to, how much people you can put on, and if not, you can always use mine Monday if you need to. But I'll check out what's offered. But everyone, thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend, and I'll see everyone on my live tomorrow.